We're not negotiating. League and the ratings are an embarrassment. They're a statement about how little interest there actually is in women's basketball beyond Caitlin Clark. People that have started a competitor to the WNBA are leading the negotiations for a new WNBA contract. The fact that they can't reach a CBA agreement and be confident that there's actually going to be a 2026 season of the WNBA because these idiots, Angel Reese and the rest are like, oh man, if y'all not paying us $1 million, $2 million a season, this group of women, delusional.
Those ratings tell a harsh story. The numbers aren't just bad, they're brutal. And they expose a truth the WNBA power circle doesn't want to say out loud. Without Caitlin Clark, the eyeballs disappear. Crowds thin out, attention drops fast, and things get messy from there. Players who rode the wave of her buzz and benefited from bigger paychecks are now talking about shutting down the entire 2026 season. The league is facing demands for NBA-level money, while games are being played in half-empty arenas, and that math simply doesn't add up. Slow it down and look closely. The WNBA has already put 7-figure contracts on the table to play roughly 40 games in a league that still loses millions every year.
Not good enough. We're not budging. We're not negotiating. The entire season is up for grabs. And here's how they got there. This group of women, delusional, allowed Nafisa Collier, whose husband and her and Breanna Stewart have started a rival league to the WNBA. They've allowed them to be the leaders of their negotiation for a new CBA.
The response from some players has been far from constructive. No negotiation, no compromise, no movement. That hardline stance puts the season on shaky ground. Led by voices like Angel Reese who prioritize superstar pay over what the league can realistically afford. What's flying under the radar is who's steering these talks. Nafisa Collier, whose husband runs a rival-unrivaled league, is leading negotiations, while Breanna Stewart is actively involved building that same competitor. That overlap raises red flags, creating a system pulled in two directions while being framed as empowerment, benefiting only a select few. Collier positions herself as a voice for change, but the influence and conflict behind the scenes tell a more complicated story.
Let's replay Nafisa Collier when she was talking tough and everybody's applauding her. You go, girl. Kathy Engelbert, they're not paying you guys what you're worth, and we're not paying Caitlin Clark what she's worth. Play the
league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them. I have the privilege of watching my husband run a league where he has to balance 100 different things at once. I won't pretend the job is easy, but even with all of that on his plate, he always takes the time to reach out to players when he sees an injury, whether it's unrivaled or even during the WNBA season. That is what leadership looks like. It's the human element. It's basic integrity, and it's the bare minimum any leader should embody.
Her main issue with Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has been made very clear, and it centers on personal attention. Specifically the claim that injured players do not receive direct phone calls. That concern is being framed as a failure of leadership serious enough to justify destabilizing the entire league. At the same time, praise is directed toward her husband, who runs a separate league that drew roughly 30,000 viewers for its biggest game, largely because he sent supportive messages and public shout-outs to players. That contrast is revealing. Feelings are being elevated above financial reality, and optics are being mistaken for strategy. The numbers, however, do not bend to emotions, narratives, or goodwill gestures. They respond only to demand, sustainability, and long-term business fundamentals.
It's all feelings over facts. It's there's no logic here. Hey, just pay us what we want. I don't want to hear about paying us what's sustainable. Just pay us what we want. We feel like we're owed this amount of money. And we've convinced America that 23 and 24-year-old women coming out of college, that paying them $70,000, $80,000 a year for a 4-month job.
Here's the grounding truth. A rookie earning roughly $70,000 for a short WNBA season right out of college is not being mistreated. This is an abuse, and it's not proof of a broken system. For many college graduates, that salary is life-changing, especially in a league that loses millions every year. Constant comparisons to men's leagues are misleading. The NBA pulls in billions. The WNBA does not. That financial gap changes everything. Historically, industries have paid little while still turning a profit. Here, the league is bleeding money while still paying rookies around $75,000 for a short season, including housing, travel, and benefits. One scenario is real exploitation. The other is players being paid despite the business taking losses for them. Some have convinced themselves that operating at a loss is a moral obligation, but once ideology overrides logic, reality gets pushed aside. Equal pay, regardless of revenue or viewership, ignores basic math. Emotion and entitlement start driving decisions, not sustainability. Numbers always catch up. To be fair, Nfisa Collier is talented and hardworking, but the circle around her reinforces weak ideas. Now, she's leading negotiations that could seriously harm the very league that gave her a platform.
But she's nuts! And she's surrounded by other nuts that are confirming her nuttiness. She's gonna sit here and preach. And again, I'm not a big defender of Kathy Engelbert because she's a nut too. But sitting there holding a press conference scolding them because your husband is the president of the unrivaled league and he's now smarter than her and he knows more about what to do than her. Are you kidding me?
The irony is that Commissioner Kathy Engelbert does deserve criticism, but not for the reasons being shouted the loudest. The real failure was allowing fantasy to replace honesty, pretending the league's financial reality didn't matter until it reached this breaking point. This moment hits close to home for many fans, myself included. Caitlin Clark had a clear opportunity this season to be the steady voice everyone was waiting for. She could have acknowledged the obvious. Some of these demands clash with what the league can realistically pay, and the current level of financial backing is far beyond what players had in the past. Instead of setting that tone, she remained quiet, and that absence was impossible to ignore.
I don't really care about Caitlin Clark anymore because she's halfway crazy for not coming on air somewhere and saying the things that I'm saying. Hey man, y'all crazy. We better take this contract they offered us and be thankful because it's all from the private flights to the salaries we're getting paid. It's all charity. It's all welfare. And let's be appreciative. And then once we start making real money, then we'll go for the stupid superstar contracts like the NBA players have. But we're not.
That silence matters. By staying quiet, Caitlin Clark let Nfisa Collier and Angel Reese steer the conversation straight to the edge without pushback. When someone with that much influence refuses to speak, it starts to look like quiet approval, and it makes it harder for fans to defend a star who won't defend the league that pays her. Now, high-profile campaigns and social messaging dominate, shifting the focus from performance to personal identity, feelings, and ideology. Systems are expected to bend to individuals, while facts, economics, and reality take a backseat. This season was a rare opportunity. Clark pulled in attention the WNBA had never seen. Viewership jumped, arenas filled, and the games became must-watch events. That momentum could have built long-term growth, but it slipped away. Internal conflicts boiled over. Union leaders with conflict steer negotiations into chaos, and now a shutdown looms. Fan loyalty is fragile in women's basketball. Many came for Clark, not the league. If the season is canceled, casual fans will leave, and the remaining audience will be small. Outside of Clark, most players have limited draw, and yet Collier is pushing for salaries that the numbers cannot support. The data simply doesn't back it up, and that's the harsh reality the league faces.
We want to decide things that God has decided. It's not about you. And so if you're a Christian, or if you have a brain, you consult the maker, the owner, the creator. You let him define you. You wonder why things around them are collapsing? They think they're the makers. They think they're the creators. They think they're their own gods. And that's why everything that they build collapses. And that's why women's sports are going to collapse, because the delusion of women, the whole feelings over facts and lies.
Some players are floating the idea of shutting down the entire season if their demands aren't met. It's being framed as bold leadership, but in reality, it's empowerment slogans replacing basic financial sense, confusing confidence with competence and loud opinions with proof. The WNBA loses millions every year, and there's no secret option to keep spending forever. The NBA has supported the league for years, but that goodwill has limits. If players force a shutdown, the league would have to stand on its own, and the numbers already show the audience outside of the WNBA brand is tiny. Most players don't have a platform waiting. The spotlight disappears without the league. Growth requires honesty, patience, and strategy, not ultimatums and ego. Burning leverage does not create leverage. Silence is not strength. Ignoring losses doesn't make them vanish. This moment demanded clarity and leadership grounded in reality, but it got ideology, power plays, and chaos instead. The WNBA is not fighting outsiders. It's fighting gravity. The next chapter will show whether the league recalibrates or sprints toward a cliff while calling it progress. Hit like, drop a comment, share this video, and stay locked in with WNBA Hoopline TV for every leak, behind-the-scenes twist, and story nobody else wants to say out loud.